We've talked about who might be the most impactful on the floor for Will Wade's bunch, but what might those impacts look like in year one?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. As always, terms apply. Happy Tuesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Just less than 2 weeks away from tipping off the college basketball season. Today, we're going to spend some time talking about the player projections. Much like we did in the preseason for football, we gave you some over-unders to think about. We're going to do the very same for basketball in a slightly different form. So we broke this down into the backcourt and the frontcourt, but we also minimized that. The 9 players that we think will submit the most minutes for Will Wade's bunch in year one in Raleigh. Without further ado, let's get started with the backcourt. We have 6 players to sift our way through here. The way these stat lines will work, we're going to give you points, rebounds, and assists, and then we'll say if we think they'll overperform that line or underperform that line this year in Raleigh. So Terrence Arsenault is up first. The Houston Cougar transfer, played in the national championship with Houston, coming back off of injury last year, so somewhat limited minutes. 6.5 points, 2.7 rebounds, and 0.7 assists. Kenton, do you think he will overperform or underperform those lines?
I will say he will overperform them because I think that he'll be our first guy off the bench, and I think that he'll be tasked to do a lot more. He'll be tasked to do a lot more offensively, and also with some of our lineups, I think he'll be in positions where rebounding is something he has to do at a high clip. So I think he'll go over, not by much. I think it'll be close, but I think he goes over.
A couple of months ago, I believe I coined Terrence Arsenault as the X factor, in my opinion. He probably will be the first guy off the bench. I think he could be a 6th man of the year for NC State. He could also be our best defensive player. Very long, lengthy, 6'6" guard, can do a little bit of everything, plays with an extremely high motor, as virtually anyone does coming out of that Houston program. I think actually he will exceed all 3 of those marks. I think he'll go over 6.5 points, over 2.7 rebounds, and over. I think he'll average around like 1 assist per game. But I think Terrence Arsenault is going to be one of the most valuable players on this team when it's all said and done. Moving forward, Quadir Copeland obviously joins Will Wade coming from McNeese here to NC State. Last season for the Cowboys, 9.2 points, 3.3 rebounds, 4.5 assists. So keep in mind, he probably will be playing the point, even though he is 6'6". Kenton, will he overperform or underperform those lines?
That's about 17 in total.
Roughly, yeah.
I think he goes a little under, only because there are a lot of guys that can do that ball handling, facilitating type of role. But more importantly, I think he's going to be a guy that's asked to do a lot different defensively. I think he's going to be asked to follow around a lot of teams' best players defensively. Because, again, we talk about Arsenault as the defensive player that he is, but if he's not on the starting unit, who's your main guy? Who's your guy that you send after other teams' best guy and say, hey, you got him all night long. Give him your best. I think it ends up being Quadir Copeland, which takes away from his offense a little bit. So I'll say slightly under.
I agree with you. I think Quadir is probably going to regress just a little bit back to his 3-year averages, and a season might look a little bit similar to the way it did at Syracuse before he transferred to McNeese. I think he'll probably average somewhere around like 7 points a game, probably like 3 to 4 rebounds a game, and hopefully that assist number will stay relatively in the same neighborhood, hopefully around like 3-ish per game. I think that makes him an extremely valuable piece to this team. Obviously, Will Wade has spoke at high lengths about him. He's able to translate to everyone else what Will Wade and the staff is trying to say. Again, a piece that really doesn't get talked about enough. That experience with this coaching staff can really help implement the new guys into the system. So I think Quadir Copeland's going to be a great player for us. He's a player, we call him a junkyard dog a lot, in the same vein as Trey Holloman, we're going to talk about here next. You are going to love Quadir Copeland in the red and white for State. Now, next up, we have Trey Holloman. Last year for the Michigan State Spartans, an Elite 8 team, 9.1 points, 1.9 rebounds, 3.7 assists. Overperform or underperform?
I wish stay right where he is was an option. I wish it was, because I think he's going to be exactly where he is. But if I had to take a bet on which one he's going to do, I'll say overperform because Will Wade likes his guards with the ball. He likes his guards making those playmaking decisions. And I'm going to tell you something. I think Holloman has the chops to be an excellent facilitator and a guy that when Darian Williams is drawing all that attention, we know he is one of the leading front court assist men. He's been one of the leading front court assist men in the nation these past couple of years for a reason. He finds those open guys. So I think him finding Holloman, I think it's going to be a really good duo for us. I wish I could say he stayed the same, but I'll go just over by the hairs on my chinny chin chin.
I agree with you. I think Trey Holloman's going to be a very underrated part of this team. And I'm not saying he's going to come out and be Allen Iverson by any means, but being that he was playing behind some talent at Michigan State, now coming to NC State where you're probably expected to be the guy running the point, you get to uncork a little bit of everything he's been hiding for the last couple of years. So yeah, I'm going to go overperform on all of these lines as well. I think he's going to average maybe around 10 points a game, probably 2 to 3 rebounds. And last season, 3.7 assists. If you can creep that up just a little bit higher, I think he'll be a show-stopping point guard for NC State. I've seen a lot of top 10 point guards in the country. Maybe he's not top 10, but I also don't think he's getting talked about enough. So look out for Trey Holloman this year for the Wolfpack. Next up, we have Paul McNeil, the lone survivor, in addition to Jordan Snell. Last season with the Wolfpack, 4.2 points, 1.3 rebounds, 0.8 assists. He's been getting a lot of buzz in this offseason, Kenton. Overperform or underperform?
Wow, what a reference with that lone survivor there. For those of you who don't know, it's an excellent show on Netflix. Now, with that being said, I think that Paul McNeil gets over that. I think that he's our three-point specialist. I think he's the one that keeps teams very, very honest. He's the guy that when you want to send that double on the D5, he's just sitting there. I'm here. No, if you need me, I'm here in the corner. All right, if you need anything. And I think he's going to absolutely light it up in that role. I think he's going to flourish in the role with a little bit more structure in an offense. So I think Paul McNeil absolutely goes over.
I think you might be looking at a season where Paul McNeil basically doubles his production from last year. I'm looking at 8, 9, 10 points per game, probably 2 to 3 threes, if not more per game with the way that everybody's been talking about him, lighting it up in the practice gym. Rebounds last year was 1.3. Probably somewhere around the same, maybe 2-ish, 2.5, something like that. Assists, I think that'll come up just a little bit, especially with the talent that he now has around him. So all in all, I think he will very clearly overperform his line from last year. Next up, we have the star of the show, Darian Williams. Last year, Texas Tech, also an Elite 8 team. He averaged 15.1 points, 5.5 rebounds, 3.6 assists. Overperform or underperform?
Over. I think that what he did in the NCAA tournament is not necessarily sustainable all season long, but could be. And I think it is. And I think he's closer to that as a player coming into this next year than he is to his last year's average. And I'm gonna tell you, Grayson, if he puts up those averages throughout this year, hey, I might have to name one of my kids' middle name Darian or something like that, because this young man absolutely lit it up. And I think that was a sign of things to come because he was fantastic for Texas Tech last year. So there's no bones about that. I think that this is a young man that could do spectacular things for the Wolfpack.
I think if he pulls up 2 or all 3 of those lines, that's your ACC Player of the Year right there. We know that he was the big fish for this team, the number 1 returning player to college basketball by Will Wade's staff metrics. We cannot wait to see what this guy can do. The preseason ACC Player of the Year, hopefully he can take it the distance and just be the ACC Player of the Year. I'm also going to go overperform. Last and certainly not least, the freshman 5-star Matt Abel, obviously with no stats to pull from, a little bit difficult to make a line, but I gave him 4.5 points, 1.5 rebounds, and 1 assist per game. Overperform or underperform?
This is tough. This has been
it might be like right there.
I want to say under, only because I believe we have so much talent. I don't think he'll quite get the opportunities to get there this year. But I do think that he'll be in the future. I think he'll be spectacular and do great things. It's just not now. I don't feel like now is the time to, and not saying that these numbers are great and world beating. I just don't think he gets them this year.
I'm going to cheat and I'm going to call it a push. I think he's going to end up right in that neighborhood, like roughly 4.5 points a game, roughly a rebound and a half, roughly an assist. I think honestly, if you look at Paul McNeil's stat line from last year, I think that's what you should expect from Matt Abel this year, and hopefully more. If you get more than that, it's undoubtedly a bonus. We've seen some of the talent in the clips, and he had one heck of a summer, venturing all over the country, playing in some showcases, showing what he can do. So Matt Abel, I think the ceiling on this kid is extremely high. Just unsure of how much of it we'll see this season, but I think he's going to finish right in that neighborhood of the lines that I gave you. Coming up next, we're going to switch gears into the front court. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Tuesday sponsor is Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, sometimes it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why you should start using Monarch. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that helps bring your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where your money's going and how to make it work harder for you. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarch.com for 50% off of your first year. That's Monarch, like the butterfly, monarch.com, using code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for 50% off of your first year, only at monarch.com. Our second Tuesday sponsor is FanDuel. The NFL season is underway, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you'll get $300 back in bonus bets if that $5 bet wins. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if that thing hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got just a little something extra riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or just love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience that much better. So, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel, play your game. Middle portion of our Tuesday show. Now time to round out the stat projections with the front. Now there's only 3 of them that we project will be mainstays in the lineup. We're projecting a roughly 8 to 9 man rotation. So first we have Jerry Dang, the Florida State transfer, one of the sneakiest offseason additions. Nobody saw this coming until he announced he was committed. Andrew Slater loves this guy. He's a 6'9" shooter, can light it up from downtown. Last season for the Seminoles, 7 points, 1.6 rebounds, and a half of an assist. Overperform or underperform?
Over. You got to pump those rookie numbers up. Here's the thing. I think that he's going to be playing a lot of minutes. Again, with Paul McNeil out there, you have one guy who can space the floor. You can never have too many. You can never have too many guys who can space the floor. So I think it's going to be a really good time to have him in the front court as well, pulling those bigs out of the paint. Because we talked about last year how you had all these guys that were good at driving and finishing, but nobody could shoot. So What happens when you got a bunch of guys that are good at driving and finishing and nobody can shoot? Oh, what's that? Everybody's playing the pack line defense, not just Virginia? Oh, well, all right. But now with a guy like him, you can't even leave your bigs out there and say, hey, we're going to keep our bigs in the paint and we're going to be all right like that. Because if you let Jerry get hot, that young man will shoot the lights on and then back off in the Lenny Center and wherever else the Pack are playing this year.
He's another one that fits into that X Factor category. A 6'9" forward that can shoot somewhere close to like 40% from deep. That's dangerous, especially when you have a guy like Paul McNeil and Darian Williams and Trey Holloman. So Jerry Dang is interesting about how much he'll give you both offensively and defensively. I would have to imagine he's going to play a little bit of a stretch 4 this season. I'm also going to go over, and I think his points per game could range from like 8 to 11. It depends on how many shots and clean looks that we can get him. And if he starts sinking those with precision, you could see those numbers start to climb up even more. So I'm going to go overperform for Jerry Dang. Up next, we have Van Allen Lubin. Obviously, we all know where he came from. Last season over there in Dirty Footland, 8.7 points, 5.5 rebounds, 0.3 assists. Overperform or underperform in the red and white?
Will Wade said, we're going to play the guy. We're going to play the guy. Give me the over. Give me the over. Van Allen Lubin is hyper-productive in terms of the stat sheet. And when you play him, he will always be hyper-productive. He is the type of guy that shows you it is not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight and the dog. Because he's not the biggest guy. He's never going to be the tallest guy in that front court in ACC games. But you know what he is? He understands positioning. He fights like a junkyard dog to get to that ball, and it means the world to him to get every rebound coming off that glass. Give me the over. Give me Van Allen Lubin jerseys right now. Give me a Van Allen Lubin bobblehead.
Something that's given me a ton of optimism around VAL this year is the way that Will Wade has spoken about him in the off, not just at the one pack event where he said Carolina was too dumb to play him, we're going to play him and he's going to succeed, but the way that he talked about his maturity and the way that he's a workhorse. He gets in the gym, he leads by example. And if I'm not mistaken, he was player of the week not once, but multiple times this offseason. In fact, playing so well for this group that the Carolina fans were like, oh, this is clearly a shtick. You're trying to poke fun at us. And no, he's going to be an impact player for the Wolfpack, and we're going to enjoy every single minute of it. So I'm also going to go overperform for hopefully all three of these stat lines. Something that's also interesting that I've seen a lot of Carolina fans say is, well, he's undersized as a center, and you guys will never succeed with him. But, like, didn't y'all try to do that last year? That's the logic you want to go with? Okay, well, we'll see then.
Look at the Final Four game between Houston and Duke last year.
Size
Duke
and everything.
Was the tallest team in the nation. Houston was trotting out a 6'9" center. And guess what happened? The 7-footer from Duke got blanked on the boards. You think I give a damn who's taller? I don't care. I don't care. Can you do the job of when that ball comes off that rim? Can you do the job of going to get it? Can you do it? If you can, great. Love to see it. We love to have you. If you can't, move around. And right now, I'm very glad that Van Allen Lubin is here because, again, you can't teach that type of dog. You can't teach that type of, it means something to me to go get loose balls. It means something to me. I'm going to dive on the floor to get that rebound. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that rebound. I'm not saying that he's Dennis Rodman. I'm not saying that he's Dennis Rodman-esque. But I'm saying he's a guy that's going to compete his behind off for those rebounds. So give me him. I would take a front court full of him all day over a bunch of 7-footers, 7'1", 7'2" guys that are uncoordinated, that are not motivated, that have had everything easy and handed to them just because they're tall.
And that's just the thing is, like, we don't need him to be Shaquille O'Neal. We don't need him to be Alonzo Mourning. We need him to be Van Allen Lubin with the confidence to play in the Will Wade system. And believe me, he's going to have it. So, yes, I'm going to overperform on that. Last player and the last addition to this team over the offseason from Spain by way of Gambia, Musa Sagnia. Now, obviously, again, no stat lines, but I made some for him. I put him at 3.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, and a half assist. Over or under?
I think we go under here, but I think he makes up for it in blocks. I think that he's the type of guy that he's going to give teams absolute fits. From what I'm hearing about him defensively, he's going to make it tough at the rim on teams. And, you need that. At the end of the day, you need that. Will Wade is not a guy that's about pace and space and run, and we're going to run and gun. He's about execute in the half court. Yes. Make it tough on them in the half court, and we're going to execute in the half court. And I think part of that is having a guy like Musa Sagnia to where if one of your bigs gets in foul trouble or something along those lines, you can say, hey, Big Moose, go out there, do what we need done, and make it happen.
This is the epitome of a player that everything he does, it might not show up in the stat sheet, but you will feel his impact. That's going to be Musa for this season. And so it can't be overstated how excited that Will Wade and this group are that they got him. And in fact, like right up against the deadline, mere hours left, they were able to pull it off. You will most certainly feel his impact on the defensive side of the ball. He's probably going to lead us in blocks this season. He will be a defensive force, and that doesn't always show up in the stat sheet. But again, you're going to be glad that we have him. So those are our stat projections this year. And I want to clarify something because we did go over a lot. And that's not us being homers, because I think there's something to be said about this roster. These are all guys that are hungry to prove a lot of themselves because maybe they were behind somebody at the previous school, or they're still getting healthy, like 100% healthy off of an injury. And I think that's something that takes the ceiling of this team potentially very high. You have extremely talented guys, all hungry to win and play the right way under Will Wade, the American gangster, might I add. You ever heard me say that before? Probably just a couple times.
Have a time or two.
This team is going to be so hungry to prove themselves. And that is in large part why we're doing overperforms on most of them.
I couldn't agree more. Like we've already said, this is not a situation where we're going over because we've got a Nate Oates on our hands where it's like, yeah, everybody's going to go over because we're going to chuck a million shots. We're going to allow me. No. This is us going over because we genuinely believe a lot of these guys are going to be in bigger roles than they played last year. Specifically looking at guys like Van Allen Lubin, where I said, hey, when he played more, he did more. They're going to play him more, or we're going to play him more. We're going to ride him more than the Dirty Foot Club did and things like that. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of these guys go over.
Feel free to let us know what y'all think in the comments, over or under on the stat lines that we gave you for each of these 9 players. Coming up next, we're getting into a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of something to round out our Tuesday show. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our third Tuesday sponsor is Gametime. College football season is about half over, but you still have tailgates, you have rivalries, and you have energy in the stands to be participating in. There's just simply nothing like it. Let's be real, though. Sometimes actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. There's endless queues, hidden fees, and prices jumping off at checkout. However, that's why for the rest of this season, you need to use Gametime. It is the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with zero surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. The app will make it super simple for you. You can even see the exact seat view in the app before you press purchase. You know exactly what to expect upon arrival. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets the rest of this season with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off that first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Last couple minutes of our Tuesday show. Now time for a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of something. 3 topics. We'll tell you exactly where we stand on them. So the first 2, we're talking some media availability. Number 1, Pitt head coach Pat Narduzzi on Monday said that NC State has the most talented roster they've seen so far on their schedule. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of something. Whole lot of something. Because why would you say such things, Pat? Why would you say something so bold, so outlandish, but so true? I mean, let's just be honest about it, right? When you look at what Pitt has seen so far this season, who would it be? Would it be West Virginia, who was missing a few of their key starters going into that game? Would it be Florida State, who, I mean, let's be honest now. You could talk all you want about, oh yeah, they've got all these guys who had all these stars on Rivals. Fun fact: Florida State has never been in front of Stanford in the ACC rankings. Not a single day since Stanford has been added to the ACC has Florida State.
PU.
Yeah. Stanford's first game in the ACC was against Syracuse, which was the Alec Iomanor game where he caught that long third and long, and they ended up winning that game. And on the other hand, Florida State took till they beat Cal a couple games in last year to get their first win. How many conference games did they beat? How many conference wins did they get after Cal?
They didn't. That was it.
Oh, okay. They also don't have any conference wins this year. And you know how many Stanford has?
They got at least one. Actually, they got 2. They got 2.
2 of them things. They beat Bill O'Brien, and they just beat Florida State. So, yeah, even with an interim coach, which Grayson is starting to win me over to the interim coach I did. Not going to lie to you.
I'm telling you.
But with that being said, this is a really talented team, especially knowing if you're watching it with Narduzzi's eye. Grayson, what type of coordinator was Narduzzi up at Michigan State before he got to Pitt?
Defensive.
Exactly. And if you're watching this NC State team through a defensive coordinator's eyes, we do look supremely talented. We really do. It does look like a team. When you watch that offense, you're like, oh my God, they got this back that can just run on for days. And then his backup is super fast and super physical too. An offensive line that can get it done in the running game and the passing game. One of the most underrated tight ends in all the nation. And a wide receiver quarter. How many bodies do you got to throw at a problem of lack of receivers? We got guy after guy after guy, and everybody does a little something different. So you got a balance of things. You don't just got a bunch of speedsters or a bunch of guys who are your jump ball specialists. You got a lot of guys who can do a lot of different things. So I get it. I get what Narduzzi's saying here. Unfortunately, Narduzzi, you may also want to watch our defense sometime. It may behoove you to do such, because I'm sure that Narduzzi struggles to watch our defense sometimes, because what he sees from our linebackers, knowing Coach Narduzzi, he will probably start throwing up and crying immediately, because he is big on letting his sharks hunt. And sometimes, our linebacker core they don't do much hunting. They don't do much hunting. So with that being said, I see the vision. It's a whole lot of something, but it also becomes an indictment on the coaching staff. Like, Wait, y'all are the most talented he's seen this year?
When I saw that he said this, I had one of two thoughts. Either one, he's trying to Kirby Smart this thing and just convince himself that NC State's this big bad team and his team's going to have no chance to kind of fire up the boys. The second idea is where Kenton went with it. Perhaps he's only talking about our offense. A top roster that they've seen all season when they have already played Florida State and Louisville, mind you, I don't know if I can buy that on both ends. Now, if you do microscope into only the offense, I believe him because we have Hollywood Smothers. Other teams don't. We have CJ Bailey when he plays well, and other teams don't. And our wide receiver cupboard, including Justin Jolie at tight end, it is one of the most talented in the conference. So I believe him there. But on the whole, I think it maybe is some Kirby Smart dark magic there. He's trying to talk himself into the fact that it's a huge game for Pitt. I don't know. We'll see. But for right now, it's a whole lot of something. The second part of this media availability, Dave Dorn on Monday said that NC State has yet to play a full 4 quarters of complimentary football. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of something. This is no surprise. We've seen this. Right? You start off with 2 of your best quarters of the season against ECU, and then all of a sudden, after one play, we completely lose our wits. We lose our head. We lose our cool and composure because of one play where we had guys running on and off the field with no timeout call. I mean, what can you say? You look at the Virginia game, first half. What can you say for what we saw in that first half? What can you look at the Wake Forest game? What can you say about that first quarter other than we got our tail whooped? And it was not – Grayson and I were in Wake Forest. By the way, Wake Forest had the worst media food I've ever had in my life. By a mile. A mile and a half, actually. And me and Grayson sitting up here thinking, we eating these dry Brussels sprouts and chicken. Potatoes just hard. I thank God for my dentist every day because if you had some soft teeth, them potatoes was going to claim one. And we were going to be doing that to watch that performance. Thank God for the thick six that they turned around. And you know I'm not lying because Grayson ran in his hat right now. You know I'm not telling you no tall tales. Going out there to Forsyth County, messing around them folks. So with that in mind, and we could go all day about this, right? We could go all day long about what we saw against obviously Duke and Virginia Tech and Notre Dame, obviously, right? 3 losses. Obviously, you didn't put it all together. But at the end of the day, Doran, you're right. It's also your job to make it happen. It's also your job. So, you know.
In my hot dog suit, I say, we're all trying to find the guy who did this. I mean, Coach Doran, you're the head coach, brother. It's ultimately one of your main responsibilities to ensure that your football team is executing at the highest level. That extends to the coordinators. A full 4 quarters of complimentary football. Yeah, we can tell that you haven't played a full 4 quarters of complimentary football. In fact, we've actually talked about it a lot on here. NC State has not played anywhere close to a complete game yet. Will you do it this weekend? Be a good time to start. Whole lot of something. And last one here, NC State has extended their apparel deal with Adidas all the way out through the year 2032. They re-upped just a couple months ago in August. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of nothing. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a deal of like 2 people that can't get nothing better, with all due respect. It's like, you know, where's Adidas going to find a much bigger brand to drop money in? And where is NC State going to find a better partner? I know a lot of people are upset about this. Like, oh, we wanted Nike. I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. Nike did not want us, okay?
Yeah.
That's just me being respectful. They did not want us, all right? Again, with Will Wade being here now and, you know, with potentially winning more in football in the near future, you could see yourself, vault yourself into that type of popularity that a Nike will want to be a part of. But as it stands right now, I mean, what you want, Under Armour?
Ugh, gross. No.
And other than them, I don't think anybody else has any deal. I literally think it's all Under Armour, Adidas, or Nike now. I don't think that and Jordan Brand, which is a subsidiary of Nike. So technically, Jordan Brand is not a separate thing from those 3. So yeah, you really – you know, you're not really going to get too much get too much better than where we are with Adidas. And until we become a major national brand in football again, it's kind of the best you're going to hope for.
This man really said Jordan brand. Gross. No, for Adidas, I think this is a good thing going for NC State. Let's be honest, because I hate to be the one to tell you this. We're not moving the needle for Nike. It just is what it is. You very clearly do not want anything to do with Under Armour. They're a sinking ship in all facets of that. So I think Adidas is a good thing. I'm fairly content, to be honest, with Adidas. I think Adidas has come a long way also in the last decade plus. So re-upping until 2032, in the grand scheme of things, it's a whole lot of nothing, but I think it's a good thing going for NC State. That will do it for us here on Tuesday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Wednesday for more, and until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.